Hey everyone, and welcome to Rebel City Roundup, where I'll be giving you my take on the premier news and happenings this last week down here in Leaside. If you want to keep up to date with what's happening down here in Cork, feel free to subscribe. And without further ado, let's get going. Our first story today touches on something we touched on last week, bus Éireann. As you may know, this weekend they're starting 24-hour service on one of the bus routes, and I was originally pretty damn skeptical about it. Well, as it turns out, I may have been right. There have been a couple of incidents last weekend and this week that have led me to this assumption. You see, back in December, a new advocacy group popped up on Facebook aimed at improving public transport down here in the Cork City area. They've been gaining some traction, getting into talks with City Hall, even with mid-level and higher management at Bus Éireann in some occasions. They've even been able to get in contact with the Ministry of Transport, as much as that's gonna do any good given the wet blanket in charge there, but I digress. You see, just last weekend, this advocacy group published a video on their Facebook page showing a Bus Éireann bus driver playing around on his smartphone while the bus was in motion, and apparently going relatively fast as well. Now, of course, this is a significant lapse and shouldn't happen at all. I mean, you shouldn't be having your phone out while driving in any vehicle, but it's especially bad when you're doing it in a bus and are responsible for the lives of dozens, if not 100 people. Well, this incident apparently happened in October. It was alerted to Bus Éireann, who didn't do anything. So the guy who recorded the video decided to go public. And that is when the shit, sorry to put it that way, started hitting the fan. Bus Éireann immediately stonewalled and refused to outline what steps they'd taken to remediate the issue or whether they'd even reported it to the Gardaí. I mean, we're talking about a traffic offence here. And what's more, the advocacy group started getting attacked on Facebook. I mean, outright attacked. Vicious name-calling, accusations of faking the video. The guys behind the page were called rats, and all of that kind of good stuff. Yours truly was attacked as well. So far, so normal on social media, who, as we all know, are pretty much a cesspool anyway. But you want to know what the real worrying thing about this is? A number of the attackers are Bus Éireann employees. This isn't anything secret, they're proudly proclaiming it on their Facebook profiles. So you've got active duty drivers calling out an advocacy group for uncovering wrongdoings in the company, and rather than being thankful that one of their colleagues who may not be particularly security conscious being exposed, they're attacking the person who took the video, accusing him of faking it. It appears as if their own skins are more important to these people than the safety of their passengers. And with that kind of attitude in place at a company, personally, I am more than a little worried that Bus Éireann is not in the right condition or position to provide a decent public transport service for the city. But that's just my take. What's your view on the thing? Put it down in the comment below. While we're on the topic of questionable attitudes, we need to talk about Senator Tim Lombard. For those of you that don't know him, like I did until last week, he's a senator for Fine Gael, the ruling party here in Ireland at the moment, and has in the past voiced some rather interesting viewpoints on some issues. Anyway, the good senator just last week, hit the headlines by suggesting that it would be necessary to ban smartphones in pubs. He claimed that smartphones were destroying Irish pub culture, whatever that may be. I cringe at this story for several reasons. First of all, of course, it's a clear overreach of power. This is not an issue that should be sorted with legislation. no matter how much you hate smartphones. However, in addition to that, I think the senator is just missing a couple of points. The first one is that he must be hanging with the wrong crowd. I mean, I've worked in IT for most of my time here in Ireland. I've worked for the company that builds the iPhone. And of course, I've hung out with people who are all over their iPhones. And even with those people, I cannot really recall a single occasion where everyone was on their smartphone all the time while in a pub. Pulling it out for a photo every now and then, or maybe to look up a particularly contentious point in discussion, granted. But continued smartphone exposure? No way. Which leads me to the second point where I think the good senator is absolutely wrong. If you're in a conversation with someone and that person pulls out his smartphone and stays on it, maybe you're just not that interesting. It's as simple as that. But once again, that's just my view on things. How's yours? Make sure to put it down in the comment section below. On to a bit more of a good news story. Plastic pollution in the ocean has been a pressing issue for quite some time now, and nobody seems to be quite sure what to do about it. Sure, there are some attempts at cleaning up the ocean, but they're rather piecemeal, and effectively they're still in the trial and prototype stage. Well, Ireland has decided to do something about it. And it is going about it rather smart, which has surprised me a bit, to be honest. You see, there's already dozens of ships out there dredging the ocean clean every single day. Trawlers, and since they're picking up plastic in their nets together with their herring or mackerel or cod or God knows what else out there, why not use them to take the plastic on board, store it, and then dispose of it safely on land? And that's exactly what Ireland is doing. The aim is, by the end of 2019, to have every single Irish trawler bring back their haul of plastic along with their haul of fish every time they come into port and dispose of it in port safely. To this end, the Irish government is setting aside funds to facilitate the installation of storage facilities on the trawlers themselves, as well as proper disposal and storage facilities in fishing ports, on remote village piers, and the like. And, you know, personally speaking, this type of approach is something that I'd love to see much more of. Those fishing boats are out there anyway, so why not make use of them? Now, granted, this is only a drop in the ocean, literally. We still need to work much harder on preventing plastic from getting into the ocean anyway. And especially Ireland has a lot to do in that regard. Given how many bottles, footballs, shopping bags, and whatever I see floating in the River Lee every time I am down in the city centre. Why isn't there a plastic bottle deposit scheme like we have in Germany or in other countries? Why the hell is recycling so chaotic? As good as this fishing initiative is, and make no mistake, I fully support it, it can only be a first step. What are your thoughts on this initiative? Do you think it's a step in the right direction? Do you think there's more that could be done? Be sure to put it down in the comment box below. Okay, normally I don't do 5 stories in one show, but I cannot let this story go uncommented. You see, I'm German and I work in IT sales, and one of the questions that I get asked a lot by colleagues is why the hell it is so hard to sell software in Germany, especially more advanced software. Well, this following story should illustrate why. Just about 2 weeks ago, news broke that the contact details of hundreds of German parliamentarians, other politicians, celebrities, YouTubers, and God knows what else had been leaked. Interestingly, the persons who had their contact details leaked were all of, should I say, liberal, centrist, or left-leaning ideologies and views. Not a single one of the people who got leaked were what I would consider right-wingers, AfD supporters, or something else of that nature. Of course, this type of ideological slant in the data released caused a lot of suspicion about who might be involved. Could it be something sponsored from within, by the AfD itself? Was it foreign action, let's say by Russia, which got thrown around a lot? Or was it something, or was it some other state actor? Whatever it was dressed up as some huge high-tech spy story. Well, turns out it wasn't. Turns out this whole thing was organized by one single person, a 19 or 20-year-old guy, still in education, still living at home with his parents. And instead of using botnets, exploiting unknown weak spots, using some advanced hacking techniques, basically all he used was some basic social engineering and a few brute force attacks. Taking advantage of weak passwords and overly antiquated security measures in several systems. Now, personally, I just cannot face palm enough. I mean, granted, what that person did was illegal and he should be thrown in jail for quite some time. However, the whole incident just shows how incompetent Germans are when it comes to IT. I mean, seriously, every year major newspapers run stories about not using password 123 and that kind of stuff as passwords. And people still do it. Especially those in the older generation who are unfortunately Germany's leaders at the moment. There is a complete lack of understanding and unwillingness to learn with regards to IT. It's still seen as a fad, despite the fact that it's dominated world economies over the last 15-20 years, if not longer. And unfortunately, it's not just the politicians, it's the people themselves. It's even the leaders of companies, the CEOs, the directors of some large but most small and medium companies in Germany. They are completely ignorant of IT. And quite frankly, as long as this kind of apathy and ignorance in Germany exists with regards to IT, that country is on a way to oblivion, and I don't see any way to stop it. And that's it for this edition of Rebel City Roundup. You'll find links to all stories in the video description below, where you'll also find links to my social media channels and to my blogs. If you have any questions, feedback, or want to comment on any of the stories I mentioned, be sure to put it in the comment section below. I'm looking forward to reading from you. And if you enjoyed this video, be sure to give it a thumbs up, share it, and if you want to see more of this kind of stuff, please consider subscribing and also hitting the notification bell. It really means a lot, especially for a small channel like mine. Thank you very much for your attention today, and I'm looking forward to seeing you guys again. Bye!